What up gamers, Fancier here, and in this video, I want to share my first impressions of the first 3 episodes of the Ahsoka show. Because we'll be talking about those episodes, there will be spoilers up ahead for episodes 1 to 3 of Ahsoka, also the entirety of Star Wars Rebels since this show is pretty much a continuation of that. There will also be some spoilers from The Mandalorian for some characters and maybe even some lighter spoilers from other shows and movies, so spoilers up ahead, you have been warned. So first up, we are reintroduced to a lot of characters. Of course, we have Ahsoka Tano, but we also see Harrison Dula, Sabine Wren, and even Ryder in a small way, who is acted by Clancy Brown, but I know him more for Mr. Krabs. But yeah, it's cool to see the characters from Star Wars Rebels in live action, and not only do we have returning characters, but also new ones. The two prominent characters are Balin Skoll and Shin Hati, and I like how their last names are references to Fenrir's children in Norse mythology. We also have the main antagonist of the series, or at least so far, because I'm guessing that Thrawn will take her place later on, and that is Morgan Elsbeth. To be honest, I forgot about her character, but she is the same character from the second season of The Mandalorian, where we also met Ahsoka for the first time in live action. Now, with these guys, they are the antagonists, and their goal is to bring Grand Admiral Thrawn back from the galaxy that Ezra Bridger brought both of them to, which happened at the end of Rebels. Like I said, this show is pretty much, it continues where we left off from the end of Rebels, even recreating the last scene from that show into live action, with some minor differences, but yeah, that is the gist of the conflict of the plot. Now, let's talk about the story. So, Balin and Shin, who are working for Morgan, breaks her out of her cell to free her, in which that scene overall was so cool. I just like the action and intimidation that Balin and Shin show. Balin looks like he towers and he moves slowly as he fights, while Shin is more of the agile and aggressive one. But after freeing Morgan, they attempt to retrieve a map from another planet, but Ahsoka beat them to it. And she gave it to Sabine on Lothal, which also looks really good in live action, by the way, so that she can decipher it. And a lot of these scenes do drag on, but I feel like it does it in a good way. I really like how slow the puzzle solving was for Ahsoka during that whole, map scene in the temple. It actually felt like a video game, and I'm a huge gamer. But as for Sabine, I would say that I'm a bit mixed on. At least in the first 2 episodes, she feels more gloomier than before, and it's understandable because she misses Ezra and she quitted her Jedi training from Ahsoka. But I guess it just feels weird seeing it. I guess for me, I'm just comparing the cartoon Sabine to live action Sabine, where I felt like the cartoon version was more confident and friendly, like she had, usually the situation under control, whereas the live action version feels more defeated and lonely. Maybe it's a translation thing with cartoons and live action, or maybe my memory is in a haze because it's been a long time since I've watched those episodes. But the thing I didn't like the most is that when Sabine fought Shin, she got stabbed with lightsaber. And I didn't like it a lot because I'm just thinking about Qui-Gon and how he just, pretty much accepted death. Where it feels like a lot of other characters live from a lightsaber stab. But yeah, to me, I don't care about the science if the stab like that can have someone survive. I'm more into the consistency of the rules of the world, but I will say Sabine's version of the stab at least has some justification for it, where she was sent to a hospital. And yeah, I guess you guys can guess what I'm about to compare this scene to. That does it very badly, in my opinion. And without spoiling it, it is with two characters from another Star Wars show, and they both survive a lightsaber stab. One of them actually got stabbed twice, without really explaining at all like how they survived it. And at least in Ahsoka, we do have a reason for it, and that's because there was a hospital nearby. But yeah, just seeing these characters get stabbed by a lightsaber and surviving it just makes lightsabers feel less life-threatening and making it more of like a small cut. Like if Sabine were to get hit by a lightsaber, I would write it in a way where it would make sense for her to get hit by a lightsaber. I would do it in a way where, like with Luke and Anakin, like they got their hands cut off with lightsabers and still live. Whereas with Qui-Gon, he like got stabbed and died. But yeah, if I were to write it, I would say that, maybe have the lightsaber cut pieces of her hair, making her want to trim it because it might get in the way. It reminds me of like a scene in The Walking Dead where someone grabs someone's hair and that person decides to cut the hair because, it was something that they can use, like the enemy can use to their advantage. Anyways, that scene bothered me the most, but it only goes uphill from here. After the battle between Sabine and Shin, Shin took the map and returned to Balin and Morgan, where they are on a planet that reveals the map. Then Ahsoka and Sabine tried to track where there might be by using one of Morgan's droids that they destroyed, and with that, they went to the planet that the droid originated from. On that planet, Morgan's team were trying to steal a hyperdrive, and a new antagonist appears, whose name is Marok. This character is probably the coolest looking character so far in the show, and I've seen all the theories that it might be Ezra, or Kanan, or Galen Merrick, who is the apprentice of Darth Vader in the Force Unleashed games, and I think it'll be really cool to have Vader's apprentice versus Anakin's apprentice. I just feel like that's such a cool scenario. But yeah, Marok escapes with Shin and the hyperdrive, but Hera and Chopper were able to leave a tracking device on them. And I gotta say, man, it's nice seeing these two with Hera and Chopper. They bring the Rebels feeling to the show. And man, I like Chopper a lot here. I've always wondered how they were going to do him in live action because in Rebels, man, he does a lot of killing and moves around a lot. I guess you can say they kind of nerfed him in the show where he's just, stationary in a ship, but at least we got his expressive droid arms, which is my favorite part about him. Then we get the final scene in Rebels recreated in live action with the minor differences, as I said before. The biggest one to me was Ahsoka not wearing her white robe and wielding her staff. I guess that will always now remain a mystery on why they made that change because, man, Ahsoka looked very majestic and I guess, I don't know, just very godlike, I guess, in that scene in Rebels. But I don't know, maybe I guess it's to make it consistent with the story of the Ahsoka show. Maybe they scrapped an original draft where Ahsoka would, use the staff and wear those robes, but yeah, that's my guess. So Ahsoka and Sabine go to where the tracking device is, and while that's happening, Hera talks to Mon Mothma and some other senators to provide help for Ahsoka and Sabine, but they said no. But I thought I'd bring that up because one of the senators' last name is Ziono, and I think that's probably like a relative or father of one of the characters in the Star Wars Resistance show, which I do like, at least with the main character, even though yeah, that character is kind of I guess too much of a cartoon character. But yeah, Ahsoka and Sabine are alone for this one, and boy, was this the best fight scene so far in the show, where there was a dogfight between Ahsoka and Sabine against Shin and Marok, whom the latter spoke for the first time, and he has such a cool voice. And yeah, once again, I've seen that clip with Marok and Starkiller from the Force Unleashed games. It could be, yeah, it could be Galen Merrick. I mean, even Sam Witwer's voice was credited in the show, so yeah, I just really hope that it is Sam Witwer playing him, and maybe at some point he'll take off his helmet to show that he has Galen. That would be so cool, but of course that might not happen, and it might just end up that Marok is no one important, but I'm still hoping. But yeah, the dogfight scene was really cool, and at some point Ahsoka was in a spacesuit and was fighting in space, which, yeah, I gotta say, one thing I might find kind of stupid is that they did not target the ship when it was kind of down. That's why Ahsoka was out to deal with them. But yeah, I thought the ship will be a better target instead of Ahsoka. But yeah, when it comes to the whole like fighting in space, like as a person, I guess, instead of like using your ship, you don't really see that in Star Wars. Like usually when you fight in space in Star Wars, it's just ships like flying around and shooting each other. But yeah, I just don't remember a time something like this happened in other Star Wars movies and shows. But yeah, this was refreshing to see. Then we have them go on a planet where we see the Purgles, who are the hyperspace whales that we saw in Rebels. But yeah, they landed in the forest afterwards, escaping Shin and Marok, who later retreated on foot. It then ends with Hu Yang saying that Morgan is building a hyperspace ring, and I assume it'll go to the galaxy where Thrawn is. Also, Balin orders everyone to hunt Ahsoka and Sabine in the forest. And that's it. And man, this show was man, it just has like the Mandalorian levels of hype, maybe even more, because man, what I like about this show is that it continues the world building aspect of the lore, and also they show a lot more aliens, like with Ahsoka and Hera. I've mentioned this before in another video, but I just really like Dave's direction with this, where a show like Andor, where yeah, it's a very good show in terms of writing, but it has a lot of humans and focuses a lot on the ground level stuff, something that feels, I don't know, I guess less fantasy and I guess science fiction. Whereas with Masoka here has like more focus on aliens and more on the magical and mythical side of things. But yeah, to me, like, my first impressions of the show is that it is pretty much nearly perfect. I think really my biggest criticism, other than the Sabine getting stabbed, was that, some scenes, might have dragged on for too long, but, at the very least, there was some sort of action that happens afterwards, which I really like a lot. But yeah, all the action scenes were really good in the show. Also, everyone, like, they don't feel useless. Like they feel good, but also not overpowered. Like they have good roles to play. I also like how Sabine is a Jedi that doesn't use the Force. At least, maybe not yet. I prefer if she doesn't use the Force. Instead, I'd like to see her be unique in her own way. Like, she's a Mandalorian, so maybe incorporate a blaster or a jetpack. We kind of saw this when she had the dark saber back in Rebels, where she was just a Mandalorian using a lightsaber. Yeah, no force powers. I would say that if she does get force powers, then keep it at a minimum, where maybe she can only lift a rock an inch from the ground for a few seconds. But yeah, I think that's fine for me. But I prefer that she remains forceless, and like I said, just incorporates some other things that make up for her being forceless. Like in the third episode, during the dogfight, Ahsoka tries to play Sabine's way to take down some ships, so I hope that's like a clue or foreshadowing that she doesn't need to use the Force and instead play with Sabine's strengths. Another criticism I have with Sabine, at least for now, and also just for Ahsoka too, is the lack of reasoning on why Sabine is training to be a Jedi. Like, I'm sure, yeah, later on they'll explain more in the future, in a future episode. That's why I said, for now, but yeah, maybe there'll be a flashback. But it just feels very sudden just seeing that Sabine is just, she tried to train to be a Jedi. I mean, if she just wants to use Ezra's lightsaber, then I think that's fine, but with the talk about her using the Force, it just feels weird that she wants to be, she wants something more than just a lightsaber, which is to be a Jedi. Or, maybe it's Ahsoka that's making her do it. That's why I also include Ahsoka. Or maybe I just missed the reasoning. If I did, let me know down in the comments below on where, in these 3 episodes at least, or like where that was. Or maybe even in Rebels that Sabine or Ahsoka decided that Sabine should train to be a Jedi. I just feel like it makes more sense though that she just used a lightsaber as only as a weapon that her friend uses, and not because she has to be a Jedi. Give her some Mandalorian traits. But man, it feels weird that I've just been talking about Sabine the most so far for a show called Ahsoka. But yeah, like I said, I just had mixed feelings with her in the first two episodes, but I feel like she's getting better again in episode three. Like, she even has her own training arc, which I wish, was shown more for some other characters. But yeah, it does remind me of like when Kanan was her trainer when she was trying to use the dark saber in Rebels. But yeah, when it comes to other characters like Ahsoka and Hera, I feel like they're pretty much good, like the way they are. So yeah, I think it's just with Sabine. I just hope they do good with her because she was a good character in Rebels. But yeah, like I said, with other characters, I'm pretty much fine with. I like Ahsoka, I like Hera, I like Balin, I like everyone. No one really feels out of place, and I like that. I feel like I had that issue with other Star Wars shows, but here, everyone plays a part that is perfect for the role, and they do it so, I guess, equally, with their screen time. They don't show too much or they don't spend too much time with them where, I feel like we might need to move on. No, I think everyone, did very well with what they offered so far. It's just, for me, it's just Sabine I have issues with. But yeah, other than characters, I do like the overall story and what it might lead to. I've heard theories and leaks about the show that so far looks to be true. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to see if that actually does come true, like overall. But yeah, I can't wait to see Anakin in the show, just based on the advertisement that they did for leading up to the show. And hopefully we do see Ezra and Thrawn in this new galaxy. Maybe even having an entirely new conflict set in that galaxy, like away from the Republic and Empire stuff. Maybe explore some of the Star Wars Legends material. So yeah, guys, those are my first impressions of the first three episodes of the Ahsoka show. And now I turn it over to you guys. What do you guys think of the show so far? Do you like it or dislike it? Love or to hate it, let me know down in the comments below. I will be reviewing the show again when the first season is finished, and it's perfect timing because I'll be on vacation throughout the next month, so I do have a lot of free time to watch it and develop my thoughts. But yeah, anyway, guys, that'll be it for now. That's game.